If you're enjoying the show and you'd like to get more, maybe you want to get bonus episodes, maybe you want to get episodes early, maybe you'd like to join monthly video hangouts with me, Jeff, and other fans of the show, the way to find out how to do that is to go to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.
Sounds like a lot of stuff to do.
There's a lot of stuff to do in Destiny 2.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been Chasing Capes, our Destiny 2 fan cast. This is We Have Concerns now. We're starting our next podcast. We Have Concerns.
We just daisy chain them together.
Yeah, we daisy chain them together. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Canada.
Hi, Anthony Carbone.
Hello, concerned citizens.
Hey, you know, when you're a kid, I think, and you learn about evolution, hopefully you're in part of the country that teaches that.
Looking at you, Kansas.
Yeah. I kind of feel like when I was a kid, I thought, oh, we evolved here. Here we got to here, and this is what we evolved to humans.
Surely there is no more.
You know that picture of all the things getting slightly larger, and then the last one is us?
The one that's more and more inaccurate as time goes on?
Yeah, that one. That last picture is us, and that's the last picture. There's no, like, next picture.
No.
You feel like, oh, evolution was a process to get us here. Mm-hmm. Which it was, but it doesn't mean that evolution is done. We're still evolving, Anthony.
Oh, sure. You think about the average height of a human being, the average lifespan of a human being just 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's a big change.
We're taller, a lot of that and older.
Yeah, a lot of that is quality of life stuff. A lot of that is health stuff. But some of it is evolution.
Well, there's a new article that Angelus Morgan sent us on the Facebook page.
Ooh, prolific. This guy is prolific.
Oh, we've heard this name before?
We have heard this name before. I don't know how many have been on the show, but he's very big in the Facebook group. You should also be big.
Is he
Don't.
I'm just asking.
Soon, probably soon.
All right.
He's definitely in there a lot on the Facebook group, facebook.com/group/wehaveconcerns.
Well, this is about a new study that confirms that we evolving, bro. Human beings evolving right now, today. We've been evolving yesterday. We're evolving tomorrow.
And if you sit very still,
you'll evolve.
You can watch yourself. Sit very still and look at your fingernails, and you can watch them evolve.
Yeah, they'll be claws/winged creatures soon
in mere weeks.
Yeah,
if you sit perfectly still.
So this study looked at over 200,000 people, this is a large scale study.
That's good.
Living across both the United States and Britain.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to see about genetic variation in population over time. So they analyzed genomes, and they determined that we are changing. That's indisputable. But their hypothesis is this is natural selection at work, continuing to be at work.
Okay.
So what they saw was there is this variant of the ApoE4 gene. I'm probably saying that wrong.
Nah.
But this is...
You're probably fine.
This is the gene that, or the variant in the gene that is thought to increase the risk of late onset Alzheimer's.
Oh.
So this has actually dropped slightly. We are evolving out of Alzheimer's in a very, very slight but demonstrable way.
Interesting.
Which is pretty amazing. They also found that the gene associated with heavy smoking, which is known as CHRNA3, declined by 1% between generations when people over the age of 80 were compared to those over the age of 60. So
now I wonder how much of that is epigenetic, as in, like, because people are smoking less, we're seeing that genetic switch flipped less.
Right. So you don't know, it's a sort of chicken and egg thing, right?
Yeah.
You don't know what's causing what.
Although I guess if it was totally epigenetic, we would have seen a larger decline than 1%, since so many...
More than 1% of people aren't smoking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting.
But the cool information here is that they're saying that these groups, which is older people, are passing on those genes less frequently to their predecessor, their descendants.
Because they're breeding less in their 80s than they were when they were younger.
Well, that was what I thought. When I read it, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. If you're looking at people, in their 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s,
Only the hits of the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Those smooth jams.
Stay tuned.
Star 104.
Don't turn that dial.
Don't turn that dial. We got Delilah After Dark coming up next.
They've already passed.
Dear Delilah, I'm trying to pass on the Churna 3 gene to my offspring.
Oh, thanks for your call. Long
Delilah,
distance.
you sound super different.
I guess I didn't know which side of the conversation I was. Delilah is the station? I thought Delilah was the caller.
Delilah was coming from inside the house.
The very whole time. Oh, I screwed that one up.
You've never heard Delilah After Dark?
No.
She reads the letters that people send in and then plays smooth jams. Sad love stories, and then she plays smooth jams.
I was doing a Casey Kasem thing.
I heard that coming in.
Yeah. And you stopped it real good.
I didn't. I didn't know where we were going.
Well, clearly I didn't either.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
As long as we didn't make a big deal about it.
No, as long as we didn't make a big deal about it, and as long as we moved right past it, and it's just a small, not even a bump, not even something anyone would notice.
Right.
No one noticed.
So I thought it's interesting because haven't these people already passed on their DNA? If you're seeing these variations late in life, haven't they already passed on their DNA early? To say that natural selection is weeding out people with these things, it doesn't matter, right? Well,
I guess, aren't they saying that these people who were in their 80s gave birth to people that they were testing that are probably in their 40s and 50s now? So the offspring of offspring of offspring is what you're looking at over 200,000 people, right?
I guess.
So the people in the 80s the people in their 80s right now gave birth to people in their 50s or 60s who gave birth to people in their 30s.
Right.
Babies having babies all the way down, and they're analyzing those different generations. Would that be it?
Well, what the article says is that it seems counterintuitive because you would think that any adult that passed on their genes before the disease set in, but they're saying that their people are choosing to have children later.
Oh,
so that actually influences it as well. They're saying people can actually even have children into their 40s and 50s. So
right up into their 80s.
Yeah. Well, if you're
just it's time. I think I'm finally emotionally ready.
Yeah.
I have, I've lived a good life so far.
Sure.
But now I'm 85 and I feel like I'm emotionally mature enough to have a child.
Well, I think the challenge then is to find a mate that is also emotionally mature enough to bear your child.
Sure. Bury a child.
Bear
a child.
Your child.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I'm definitely going to die first.
Yeah, I think that's clear. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, statistically,
right.
Listen,
the hearing is
you never know what's going to happen.
No. You gotta be prepared
we're
for
pretty
anything.
sure in this situation.
It would be tragic if you're 85 and you outlive your kid. That'd be pretty bad.
Of course. But, listen, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, you're not gonna outlive the conception.
No. Anyway, now that I'm ready, it's time to find out how babies are made.
So I think it's fascinating that you're seeing these things that we think are huge kind of problems actually self-select out, naturally select out.
Yeah, I mean,
we
think about natural selection as something that's gone, right? Like we think about natural selection as, hey, you are going to get eaten, but your wings look like tree bark a little bit more than this guy's wings look like tree bark,
right? And
so you don't get eaten,
right?
And so you guys, you have offspring with another. Let's say they have wings that look like bark. Let's say they're dogs. You have offspring with another winged bark dog,
right?
Who looks a little bit more like bark, and so your next child has more glorious wings and a more lustrous coat
and less chance to die.
Well,
and that's why I think it makes so little sense that why would people who have less Alzheimer's or less smoking breed more or live better? It's a strange thing to say, well, these people are self-selecting out because these people are having more successful offspring, right? That's how natural selection works.
Yeah.
Your offspring, you're more likely to reproduce than the people who have those things.
And I think we tend to believe that we have removed that it's almost like a pride of ours that we've removed natural selection from society.
Right.
It's almost like, hey, look, man, there are no predators. We are living the dream. We have air conditioning and penicillin and clean water most of the world.
If you have a quote unquote, genetic flaw or challenge. If you're blind, maybe, when you were evolving, blindness would have been your death knell.
Yeah.
Now we have ways around that. We can, you can be assisted through our biggest evolutionary advantage, our brains.
Yeah, but we also forget that, like, hey, there are things that we cannot mitigate that can only be mitigated by natural selection. So when you think about something like Alzheimer's, you think about something like the gene that causes like an intense addiction to smoking,
right.
Which is also connected to addiction in other forms. Well, when you look at that stuff, it's like, hey, if you have early onset Alzheimer's, which is rare but can happen, it can set in much younger. You're less likely to have a family.
Right.
If you have this very addictive gene, you are likely to sadly remove yourself from the equation.
Right.
Or at least, whether it's by isolation or by, unfortunately, disease and eventually death, you're removing yourself from the situation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense as the population numbers grow, these sort of like really intense early onset versions of these things would go away.
Right. And it's a fascinating thing to see that happening in that tiny incremental pace.
Yeah.
Because obviously this stuff is slow. We know this stuff is slow, but even over the course of just a couple of generations, you can see it beginning to happen, which is fascinating. They said that there's another well-studied example of natural selection happening in humans in recent times. We evolved to be able to digest milk into adulthood. We weren't able to do that. We were only able to digest milk as infants. And before farming, there was no need to have milk as an adult.
No.
Because where would you get milk from?
But then we invented gelato.
Yeah. Which was really the turning point on evolution for a lot of things.
Listen,
really.
Ask a lot of your anthropologists, your sociologists.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to tell you, farming, irrigation.
Yeah.
These were huge. Plumbing, language, written language, gelato. Gelato was the last big turning point of civilization.
And
remember, ice cream existed first.
Right.
But gelato is like better.
Way better.
That showed that we were smarter.
Quick tip for anyone playing Sid Meier's Civilization, always invest in gelato early game.
And kill Gandhi.
Oh, and kill Gandhi. But that's going to give you a better military victory, cultural victory, and science victory. Gelato, interestingly, has applications across all three.
Oh, and let me tell you something.
Warriors fight better on gelato.
Especially if you can get if you can get the affogato in there. You know what I mean? That's a little bit of gelato, and then they pour a shot of the espresso over it.
Yeah.
That's peak. That's pinnacle.
You're
one step away from space travel.
Pure military victory right there.
I think that's exactly how history went. It was written language.
The wheel.
It was the wheel, irrigation and farming, written language, gelato, interstellar travel.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I love eating gelato in space.
God, so much. But we couldn't eat gelato.
No.
We forced ourselves to eat gelato.
Right.
We kept eating dairy and people got sick and they died and they got weird shit and they weeded them out.
Because they knew their descendants someday, the gelato I'm eating now is not for me.
No.
It's not for me.
This is a sacrifice I make for future generations.
This is for my children's children's children.
Ooh,
so they can enjoy gelato.
You ever have a gelato?
Massive diarrhea.
Like an olive oil gelato with like biscotti bits in it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So good and so worth the explosive diarrhea.
And extinction of family lines.
Oh, yeah.
Entire family lines.
The Robinsons? Completely wiped out by explosive.
You'll never meet another Robinson.
Diarrhea.
They're gone now.
Have you ever met a Robinson?
Never once.
No.
Never once have I met a Robinson. Nobody has.
There are no Robinsons anymore.
There are no Robinsons. There haven't been for hundreds of years because of gelato.
They exploded because they ate gelato.
That's it.
That's science.
That's science. And that's the real point of this study.
Yeah.
No, so we evolved to eat dairy, which is not a survival thing. It's just a thing that we did because we didn't need to.
Right.
We didn't need to.
Well, I think we kind of needed to. Because once we found out that we could farm and have milk.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh shit, I'm going to starve to death unless I have this milk.
I filled this entire silo with gelato.
What have I done?
Because winter is coming.
Yeah.
And I've got the grain in one silo.
Yeah.
And the gelato in another silo.
Ezekiel, you spent so much time filling the silo with gelato.
It's crazy. I know. I mean, it seems crazy because you have to churn it barrel by barrel,
yes,
and then put it into the silo.
The rest of us
keeping the silo cold is a challenge.
The rest of us cultivated wheat, and grains, and
who's laughing now?
Well,
Jebediah,
I'm just
laughing now.
Wondering if you'll trade some wheat for some sweet olive oil gelato.
No, I will not.
You have so much. I have an entire silo of gelato.
Let me tell you the story of the grasshopper and the ant. I started farming my gelato early in the season. And now I'm going to swim through it like Scrooge McDuck, who is something we don't know about, but we will. You just made wheat. What were you going to do with wheat? Make bread?
Yeah.
What a dummy.
I can swim through bread.
Gross.
Ish.
Let me tell you something. Gluten's bad for you. What you want is all this dairy. Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting because these are, I mean, we call it natural selection, but we didn't really need to evolve for the dairy. We could have been like, hey, this milk is good for kids. This cow is good for meat. We shouldn't drink the milk.
Right.
But we were just like, fuck it, I'm drinking the milk.
Gotta drink that milk.
I'm
There's
doing
probably
it.
no water around. Let's drink the milk.
There's probably more water around than milk.
Well, but if you're like wandering through the land, as people do, you're trying not to die of dysentery.
Riding on the back of your traveling cow.
Exactly. The cow you can bring with you. You know how hard it is to bring water? Very, very hard.
Yeah. Harder than a cow?
If a cow is as if a barrel of water had legs.
That still sounds easy. Well, it sounds easier, but let me invite you to contemplate the canteen.
The canteen has no legs.
No.
It has a strap that weighs me down. You know what doesn't weigh me down? A cow.
I don't know.
Cow
has mind.
Cow has mind, but so easily manipulated.
I don't know. You ever try to push a cow?
A tip one. You can tip one. He's so easy.
You ever try to tip a cow? If you tip a cow, they have to cut it in half with a chainsaw. That's why you can't tip cows.
That's so true.
Yeah, they can't get back up, and you got to cut them in half with a chainsaw.
It's also why I don't tip waitresses.
That's
same reason.
Because you got to push them over and then cut them in half with a chainsaw. Neither of those is true, except for the waitress one. So this is cool. So we're still evolving.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that diagram that we all know about that you mentioned in the beginning.
Right.
Let's talk about the evolution of man. Where do we think it's going? Do they know? Are we making, now that we are thinking ahead and we know that we're seeing evolution, are we trying to figure out what we might look like in 1,000 years, 2,000 years,
I think the next picture is
years?
robots, right? I think we can agree it's robots.
Well, I feel like that counters all evolution. Unless you're like a transhumanist, you're like
I think that's where we're evolving to
a Ray Kurzweil and Aubrey de Grey, where you're just like, hey, we'll take evolution from here. But what do they have any idea where natural evolution, where natural selection might be going?
No, but it's interesting that it's making us more refined, and it sounds like at least these variations are fewer ways to kill us or impact our lives negatively. I wonder if the real result of this study is like, hey, don't have kids until you're way older, because let's find out if you should have kids. Let's find out if natural selection should be weeding you out and your family.
They should have told you this in sex ed. Your guidance counselor should have told you this. But really, you should only have a kid when you're old enough with someone you love, when you're about 80, 85 years old.
85, yeah. Have a lot of gelato until then.
Yeah.
Just tide yourself over with gelato.
Enjoy life.
Yeah.
Travel. Eat gelato.
Yeah. And then 85, cruise, just coast right into parenthood.
Yeah. That's the moral of this story.
Coast into parenthood.
Coast into parenthood, everybody. Gelato, how do you feel about it? That's the only question I have.
Superior to ice cream?
I know I should have a better question, but I don't.
No, it's
Is
really
gelato
the takeaway.
superior to ice cream? Yes or no, and why? You can get at us on Twitter. I'm at @Carboni.
I'm at Jeff Canada.
And you can hashtag those 85.
85.
Hashtag 85.
Best years of your life. Fatherhood. 85. That's when I decided to be a father, as you well know.
Yeah. When are you going to die? When are you going to die?
Now I just do your shit for you.
That's called automation. Tim Ferriss, 4-Hour Workweek.